Guys, before we jump into the video, I wanted to say thank you to a brand new channel member, another one. And it's another guy that I'm going to have trouble saying his name. It's Scalaner. Man, I hope I can get that right. But a tier 1 channel membership from Scalaner. Thank you so much for your support. Also, thank you to my other channel members, Caleb Johnson at 7 days, Bill Gillies at 1 month, Skyke, still don't know how to say his name, 1 month as well. Easy does it with 3 months, Raising Vagabond with 4 months, and Blake Dowell almost has his Bill Rose sticker next to his name on the channel. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for the support as well. Now let's jump into the video. All right, guys, welcome back. It's been a few days since we were able to upload a video, and I'm sorry about that, especially to all the channel members out there, and of course the subscribers as well. But when you're banging up and down the road for 18 days in a row, it's a little bit tough to have time to make videos, especially when you're driving between races and you're getting home late and things like that. So hopefully you guys are not upset about that. But we are back here at my house. Finally got home last night after some seriously long delays. I was supposed to be home at like 4 p.m. and didn't get home till 8. So a little bit of a tough travel day, but here we are. It is Monday, and we're going to talk about James McFadden today and his unbelievable run on the West Coast with high limit racing. What can you say, man? I mean, he was, I think you could argue that he was the most consistent driver the entire swing. I think you could put Rico in that category as well. Those two seem to be, far and above the most consistent drivers on this West Coast swing. But James McFadden is the award for most consistent goes to him from me. So I wanted to look back at those 10 races that we just ran and look at some of the things that he was able to accomplish here, and look forward to what he could do for the rest of the year. And then I want to address a couple things about 2025 and McFadden. So number 1 on the list, we got Tulare. So that was the first race of the West Coast swing for high limit. McFadden started in the 6th position. He would come home in the 4th spot, scoring a $4,000 paycheck there that night. Hanford would be the very next race at Kings Speedway. He would start 8th in that one, and he would end up in the 5th position, a $3,000 payday for that one. And then at Placerville Speedway, he would start 2nd in that feature, and he would get his first win of the West Coast swing after a pretty good battle with Zeb Wise. That win worth $12,000 there for McFadden that night. Then we'd have a few days off for the Gold Cup Race of Champions. The 4th race on the list there is his prelim night from the Gold Cup. He would start 4th in the prelim night main event. He would come home in the 3rd spot for a $3,000 win on that race. And then for the Gold Cup Race of Champions finale, he would start 9th and he would finish 6th. That was good enough for $7,000. Then his 2nd win of the West Coast swing would come down at the Douglas County racetrack, or Douglas County dirt track, in Roseburg, Oregon. He would start 4th in that one and get by Justin Sanders late in the race to score a $12,000 win there as well. Then at Grays Harbor, it looked like things were about to go down the drain for McFadden. He had to come out of the B main after he lost an engine early in the night, but he was still able to rebound. 19th is where he started in that one, and he would finish in the 8th position for a $2,400 payday on that one. And then the 3 nights at Skagit, he got better and better as the weekend went along. He started 8th on the first night on Thursday, and he would finish in the 8th position, $2,100 that night. And then at the 2nd night, he would go 3rd to 3rd, which was good enough for $3,000. He would be inside the top 4 lock-in positions. He would be in the dash. He would start 2nd in the feature. He would lead a couple of laps, eventually getting passed by Rico Abreu, and he would come home in the 2nd position, which was good for $30,000 on the finale of the Sageford Skagit Nationals. So here's some of the things that are quite interesting here with McFadden. He was the only driver out of all of the high rollers, out of all the California guys, the only one that was able to finish inside the top 10 for all 10 of the West Coast swing races for high limit racing. And you look back to Grays Harbor, man, you think that, it could have ended right there, but he was able to overcome an engine issue, overcome a 19th starting position, and make his way forward and still finish 8th. He also had the best average finish out of any of the high rollers throughout the West Coast swing with a 4.1 average finish over 10 races. Absolutely great stuff there from McFadden. I think Rico was very close. He did have one finish outside the top 10 at Placerville. He had to use a provisional, actually. But Rico was very, very good. A lot of second place runs for him, but the average finish was not good enough to overtake McFadden. Now, also what I thought was interesting is in all 10 races, he either went forward, he either passed a couple of cars or a bunch of cars like Grays Harbor, or he stayed in the same spot where he started. So either he went second to second, he went 18th to 9th, he went 8th to 5th, whatever. He did not go backwards in one single main event, 10 races in a row. His plus minus over those 10 races, a plus 23. So that was pretty interesting as well. There's not many guys that can say they went forward in every one of those West Coast swing races. And then, this is also an interesting thing. When it comes to the owner's points with High Limit Racing, which awards that high-stakes charter in 2026, McFadden went from 7th in points, minus 369 to Brad Sweet, and he went all the way to 4th position, minus 324. So still a pretty far distance, obviously, in points, but he did gain points on Brad Sweet, and he moves up 3 spots in the overall Owners' Championship with that Roth Enterprises number 83 car, passing Corey Day. I think he passed Justin Peck as well. And then he passed Brent Marks, I believe. Yes, Brent Marks as well. So McFadden passing 3 guys in points on this West Coast swing. Fantastic stuff there. Puts that car into a charter position. And, I think that he's going to be able to hang on. I am a little bit worried about this upcoming week at that Port Royal Speedway. 3 nights there. Hasn't been the greatest track for James McFadden in the past. He's had some decent runs here and there, obviously, but not a place where you expect him to go in and be a winner at, right? Or be a podium guy. But we'll see what he can do this weekend going in and see if he can hang on to that charter spot for the rest of the season. His total earnings in these 10 races, $77,500. Now, that's obviously not the most because Corey Day won the Gold Cup. That was $100,000. Rico Abreu won Skagit. That was $102,000. So McFadden definitely not the highest earner on this West Coast swing. But I think if you took out those, 2 guys winning those $100,000 races, he would definitely be the highest earner guy at $77,500. So a really, really good 10 race stretch for McFadden after having a lot of races this year where, he's been wrecked out of, racing for the lead or having mechanical issues or whatever it was. But you think back to Lernerville, which was the race right before Tulare. We had like a 2-week break for Knoxville and stuff like that. But if you remember back to that race, it was him and Sunshine battling for the lead. McFadden tries to throw a slider. They get together. Sunshine crashes. McFadden gets a flat tire. He has to go to the work area, comes back out and finishes in the back. But ever since then, this team has showed so much speed. They've been so competitive, and it's been a lot of fun to watch. Now, I also want to mention this. This is the best stretch of races in James McFadden's career since 2021 when he had 17 top 10s in a row with the World of Outlaws that was driving the KKR 9 car, right? So it's been a long time since McFadden has had this many top 10s in a row. Obviously, it's 10, and we'll see if he can get to 17. I really do think it's going to come to an end at Port Royal. We're going to have a tough field for the Tuscarora 50 later on this week, but we'll see if he can keep doing it, man. Momentum is obviously such a key thing. Confidence, such a huge deal in sprint car racing, and I think this team and this driver definitely have all of that right now. Now, the final thing I wanted to talk about was 2025. There's been a lot of talk. There's been people murmuring. There's been, rumors and things like that James McFadden might not come back next year to run full-time in the United States. And it's hard to believe that that is the case, right? But obviously, you got to think about your family, right? And, a big part of why I personally took the high limit job was due to family, right? I mean, being on the road with the Outlaws is a very, very big commitment. I've seen it, tear apart my own family in the past, my dad and things like that. He wasn't on the Outlaw Tour, but racing in general, right? Being gone all the time is very, very hard. Luckily for McFadden, he's able to bring his wife, he's able to bring his son along for all of these races as well. But, his whole family, all of the, brothers, sisters, mom, dad, they all still live there, right? So it's tough to be gone for 8 or 9 months out of the year. I totally understand that. But with this run that he's on right now, the year he's having, 3 wins with High Limit, 4 with the Outlaws. Obviously, you want a couple more wins. He's had, plenty of opportunities, just been in a couple wrecks or been beaten at a photo finish at the line. It's been one of the best years of McFadden's career. And I think that this team is hitting on all cylinders right now. So it's he's at a tough crossroads right now. Obviously, you can go down one road, go back to Australia, come back for a couple races here and there in the United States with who knows what car owner, and do that thing. Or you can come back and continue to try and race your ass off and go in the record books and race for big money and crown jewel races. Because right now, this is one of the best cars in the country. They are very, very consistent every single night, every track they're going to. It doesn't matter how big it is, how small it is, if it's slick, if it's hooked up. This car has been running towards the front in a lot of races here recently. And it's just hard to believe that, it's hard to fathom not seeing McFadden on some kind of tour next year, just because that would be such an elite driver to lose from the crop of full-time competitors, whether that's with High Limit or with the Outlaws. It's hard to see a world right now where McFadden is just not a part of it, right? He's just a driver that obviously a lot of fans like and enjoy watching, and it's a guy that can compete for wins. And you would hate to lose a guy like that. But I totally get where he's coming from. If that's what he wants to do, then I totally get it, man. I mean, I've made a decision this last year to try and not race as much and focus on family and other things, right? And that's a tough decision to make, but sometimes that's what you got to do. So if that does come true, obviously, if he does go to Australia, what happens with Roth? What do they do? Who do they put in the car? If they have a charter, they're going to have to stay on the High Limit Tour, right? They're not just going to give that up. It's a lot of things to think about, a lot of things to talk about. And it's another thing that when we talk about silly season, it's something that you need to talk about. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you learned something, and hopefully you are happy that I'm back doing this. I'm very sorry once again for taking a couple of days off there, but we were very busy with High Limit. Hopefully you guys understand that. And we'll be back tomorrow. We'll start talking about Port Royal Speedway for the Tuscarora 50, the race preview, and probably going to do a video on the format as well. That'll be coming up here tomorrow on the channel. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll talk to you again soon.